Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Out of Our League. Thank you for joining us today. We have an amazing guest. I'm super excited to tell you about him. But first, Al, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to this. How are you, Phil?
I'm doing very well. For all those audio listeners, our guest just did a mouth-to-hand motion that many will be familiar with, but I'm not going to say what it is explicitly. So enjoy that, or go check out the audio or the video version. And then we have a guest host today who I'm really excited to have here. Mark, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much for having me. As I said when I was on my episode, if you ever had anyone related to Kevin Smith on, you better invite me.
No, you specifically told me that you would gut me if I didn't invite you to an episode if we ever got Kevin Smith on the show.
Maybe.
There may or may not be any evidence because I think we did that after your episode of Out of Our League and on videos. There's no evidence of it. And of course, the wonderful guest that we have today is Josh Roush. Dr. Josh Roush. You may know him from such shows as like Hollywood Babylon or many documentaries that he's done of the Askewverse, and some really cool video stuff that he's done outside of that, as well as his own projects that are really cool and a lot of fun.
You're very kind.
Hey, I'm going to tell you right now, I am someone who enjoyed Tusk. I enjoy that movie. I love the monologues. I love how weird it is. Yes.
Word, yes.
For those audio listeners, he just showed us a Tusk tattoo.
I'm going to keep making your life hell so that you have to describe everything I'm doing.
And now, Josh Roush is taking his shirt, lifting his sleeve, and showing us his Tusk tattoo. But I'll tell you right now, the documentary that you did for Tusk, I actually enjoyed more than the movie.
That's very sweet of you. I won't tell Kevin.
No, please don't. Please don't. Someday, somehow, we want to try and get him on the show. So
I will forward the request.
Now, for those people who may not know who you are, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, who is Josh Roush in like a small paragraph?
God, what an in-depth question. Let's see. I'm essentially kind of Kevin's lackey. Anything that he needs shot when there's no budget whatsoever, that's where I come in. No, I do a lot of work with Kevin. I'm in the basement of the secret stash right now. I'm a wannabe filmmaker who kind of came under his wing to try to study how he did things, and had minor success thus far.
Yeah, I think I'd probably describe you for our audience as Kevin from Kind of Funny. You do all the back-end producing stuff, etc. Obviously, you and JC. So, yeah, for our audience, it's kind of a Kevin role.
Absolutely. No, that's
also, if I may steal your job, Phil, and describe for the audio listeners the awesome studded vest that Josh is rocking right now. Forget about all the other gestures and everything. Just tune in to the video just to see the vest. You have to.
You're very kind. This is my Wrong Reasons vest. All the bands that are on this were actually part of our movie Wrong Reasons.
Nice.
Whether it's they contributed to the soundtrack or whether they let us have their art, they licensed it for physical use and stuff.
Now, what was the path to getting to where you are today? Was this always the plan? Was this something you always wanted to do? Was this what you were aspiring to do, and you just kind of came into where you're at now? What was the pathway?
I mean, essentially, I moved from Ohio to Southern California, Orange County specifically, to be in music. I wanted to be a punk rock guitarist. And, over the course of yeah, fair. But over the course of a couple bands, there was just too many egos, too many personalities, and you put four sweaty men in a 10 by 10 box, a lot of egos flare up. So I started playing cards with Kevin because I was always the fan, and I was like, you know what, this I want to express myself and I want to do something in media. This seems like a much easier way to do it, because when you're a director, essentially everybody has to listen to you. There's not three other people's opinion. So it kind of got born out of that. So I started going to film school, quickly dropped the fuck out of that. And then just kind of started following Kevin around, volunteering to shoot stuff like, what was it? Jay and Bob Get Old and Babylon back at when they were at the John Lovitz Theater. And yeah, then just kind of rose through the ranks that way.
That's awesome. Now, where did for me, the way I was introduced to you was Hollywood Babylon. And, it was always so much fun when they would, have you shout you out or you would interject with something. And I always thought it was that was kind of like my first introduction to the kind of that live production producer role and being like, right, of course they have somebody behind the scenes, doing all this stuff for them. So my question is, like, how did that come about? How did you, like, was that just something that they approached you about, or?
Well, I mean, at that point, I was already shooting video for them of the subject. So when they needed an audio guy, I had a big background in music and stuff, so it was a pretty natural fit. So I bought a soundboard and, kind of like, there was a pre-existing guy, DJ James Franco, really nice cat who was doing my job before. And he already like interjected like occasionally and stuff. So I was like, well, he does it, so I'm going to do it, but I'm going to up it. So like I started like, taking the piss out of him anytime like, somebody would flub up on stage. I'd do the Price is Right. Dun, 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 dun.
The more you know.
And exactly. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. So I've always got a soundboard ready to go to, kind of fuck with them as much as humanly possible. But yeah, that was kind of how I got into it. Like, James moved down to San Diego and I kind of stepped up into the role because, I already knew, audio and shit.
And then did you go to school for anything as far as audio technician or
I mean, like
design?
I took radio, TV, film classes at Cal State Fullerton, and like by the time I was getting ready to graduate, I think I have one credit left. I was like already working in the field. So I was like, why am I still paying for this education when I'm like working at Sony right now? So it never really, kind of made sense to me to like keep pursuing the degree when I'm already in the field. I didn't have time.
What were you working on prior to everything that you're doing now? Like you just said, you were working on a project for Sony. So what, like, was it just random projects here and there for different companies, like contract work, or did you have a position?
It was definitely contract work. I was doing video quality control for the PlayStation at that point 3 video download service. And I was at that point volunteering for Kevin, so I would work 40-hour weeks, and then I would go over to JC's house, who was running like the actual video, like he was in charge of it for the podcast, and I kind of worked under him as like an internship kind of role. And I would sleep on his couch, get like 3 or 4 hours sleep a night, go back to work, come back to his house, edit videos all night, wash, rinse, repeat for like probably a year of my life, like trying to, because like I didn't really have any connections other than Kevin, and he got me the internship in with JC. So like, I just had to prove myself essentially.
Was that part of the a core, the PlayStation video magazine that they did? Is that what you're talking about?
No. This was they started a video download service that essentially was in the PlayStation Store itself,
The
like
TVs,
the digital,
I see.
yeah, SVOD like kind of stuff. But yeah, so I got paid to watch TV for a living. It was a great existence.
Nice.
On a PlayStation. Nice.
Yep.
Also, going on at this time, weren't you also flying out to Australia quite a lot as well?
Apparently
I don't know
still is, because didn't you just get back from Australia too?
Jeez, like a week ago, man. My body clock is like all over the map right now. Yeah, so that quickly turned into like from doing the live, like I was stage camera. So like I would shoot like the audience and get audience reaction, stuff like that. One day JC calls me up, he's like, hey, can you get like 3 weeks off Sony? We're gonna go tour Australia and you could be stage camera. And I would run 2 DSLRs simultaneously. I do like a wide angle, then I do like a traveling close up on select audience members. So we're at the Melbourne show in Australia in 2012, I think it was. And there was this pretty blonde up front. And instead of shooting the crowd, I just started shooting the pretty blonde. And afterwards, I was like, "Hey, do you want to be on the DVD?" I didn't even know if we were doing a DVD. I just said that, and interviewed her, had her fill out like an NDA. She wrote her phone number. I was like, "Can't really read that. Can you write it a little bit more legibly, please?" And she did. And I was like, "Well, the hard work's done. You want to go get a drink?" Went out for drinks, and ended up marrying her.
Yes.
That's awesome. I was literally, as you were saying it, I was like, wait, is he talking about his wife?
Yep.
That's so good. That's so amazing. Oh man. So it's really funny. This is just small note. But I used to work for a Ritz camera, and I was like, oh, he's shooting with 2 DSLRs. That must have been like 2011, 2012 ish. And then you said 2012, and I was like, ah.
Dead on. Dead on.
Good. Yeah, because that industry, didn't have the video DSLRs until like right around that 2010 mark, and they were not great when they first came out, but they started to get good real quick.
Totally. Yeah, I cut my teeth on a Canon 60D. Like,
Nice.
I'm very much of the generation that grew up professionally with DSLRs.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's one of those things where when those started to drop, like the idea of having being able to do a wide angle lens from a DSLR instead of having this crazy camera rig to work with just changed the
Totally.
game for that era of filmmaking. I mean, now it's
Yeah, I mean,
kind of
so many documentaries were born out of that. Like, so much good shit.
yeah, now it's kind of insane just how much a phone can do. But
Yeah,
at that time, man, the DSLR had its reign for sure.
yeah, it changed the game. I mean, I'm still shooting. It's not DSLR, but on a GH5. Like, that's still my bread and butter. Take it, like, stand in the corner, like, as an observational, like, kind of thing on a movie set. That's very much my main rig still.
Now, is that often what you're doing is doing side video for movie projects or
That is a good amount. I've done it for like 3 or 4 Kevin movies. I've done it for Charlie Says, which was like an IFC independent Charles Manson project starring Matt Smith. I just did it on a Netflix movie this summer that I don't think I can say the title to, and
no
a
worries.
handful of others. But yeah, that's kind of like my bread and butter is like kind of the observational guy on a movie set, capturing what he can, or filling out like the checklist for the EPK, like get famous guy doing this, get famous guy doing that. Like that's kind of my life.
Yeah, the last thing we want to do is get you in trouble. So if you do say anything, let me know so we can take it out.
I appreciate that. I
That's
appreciate that. I'm casually racist, so I appreciate that.
If I may go back a little bit in time, do you mind telling us what it was your first creative paying job and how you managed to get that?
Creative paying job. Well, that wouldn't have been Sony because there was no creativity in that whatsoever. I mean, I did a lot of shorts and stuff, but none of that really paid anything. I guess it would probably be the documentary on Tusk, shooting behind the scenes
whoa.
on that.
And
That would probably be
how
the
did that
first time.
happen?
It was just years leading up shooting stuff for Kevin, and then essentially like when he went to go shoot his first movie since like I had been part of the crew, he drugged me with, and I'm
Wait, he
incredibly
drugged
thankful
you?
for it. Yes, yes.
Well, I think just
Cut that story. We can't talk about that.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, if you stand anywhere near Kevin Smith for 5 minutes, he's probably drugging.
That's true.
Right.
I've got a lot of contact highs in my life.
Yeah, man, I definitely wish now, looking back on it now, that you would have been hired on for like Red State and some of that other stuff. I would have loved the behind the scenes action that you've been doing for his more recent films on something like that. That project seemed like it had some really fun stuff going on behind the scenes.
That's very sweet of you to say. I think a good amount of it was shot by Zach and Joey, the guys who were doing it before I did, who like branched out on their own. But I don't know if like it's just it was that time and it still is that time that like physical media is dying. So like unless you try to make some grand project out of it, like I kind of force down people's throats with like documentary style features, like nobody cares about bonus content anymore. It's really sad.
I've
But
been
you did
I
work
do.
on Red State, didn't you?
I did not. I did
Oh,
not.
did
That
you?
was
Oh,
actually I attended what Red State U he called it, which was like a
oh, yeah.
podcast series he did. So I was part of that in that way, but I was a paying customer at that point.
That's really
Oh,
interesting as far as oh my god, I just totally lost my train of thought.
don't worry. I can jump in if you
Go,
want.
please, Mark.
So when did you meet Michael Parks then? Because this is something again. I thought I was going to be coming on here asking you a lot of Kevin Smith questions, but actually all the questions I kind of really want to ask you are only
That's
tangentially related.
that's fun. That's
Um,
fun.
and how did
Um,
that lead to the documentary?
I mean, I adored Michael. I was on set on Tusk for about 2 weeks before he came because he came like like I think like 3 weeks into production and I got there a week late. And he didn't come in good shape. Nobody knew it on production, but he had had a fall in New York and fell down like a flight of stairs and had a very bad traumatic brain injury, resulting in him being like comatose for like a week. Um, so he came to that production not really being the full version of himself that other people like Kevin, kind of knew. He was much more slow and like mentally and physically. So like it became apparent, like working on like if you remember the Enclave, like that big body of water and then like just obstacles everywhere. And Kevin's like, look, dude, I trust you. Like I need somebody to watch Michael. And as he says, he parked me on Parks. Um,
Sorry.
so it was this old man like casually singing songs with like this weird looking punk rocker with like orange hair like hanging out on set, and it was like it took us each a while to figure each other out. Like he's like, why do you wear all that shit on you? It's just like, well, why are you such an asshole, man? And eventually like we just kind of fell in love with each other in like a really endearing way, like a grandfather grandson kind of relationship. And I mean, he made my life a lot better for having been in it as briefly as he was. I truly miss the old man,
I mean, I'd say he has. I can only even imagine the stories that you heard from him. I mean,
dude. Yeah, he would start talking. He's like, yeah,
Johnny,
like my buddy Lenny, he hated the cops. And I was like, do you mean Lenny Bruce? He's like, I said Lenny. Weren't you listening to me?
yeah.
Like he knew MLK. Like he knew fucking like
We taught
everybody, man.
Johnny. I was listening to the Red State one podcast earlier, and he was like, "Oh yeah, he taught Johnny Cash how to ride a motorcycle."
Right, and there's footage of it. It's in the Johnny Cash show. I'm not going to pull the episode out of my
Yeah,
ass, but it was on the one he was on for Then Came Bronson. We very much used it in the documentary.
yeah.
That's
So yes, the documentary. Obviously, it's been a long time coming. As we were talking yesterday, you say you're still waiting on one final person. I've got.
Yeah, look, there's certain people in Parks's life that you can't do a documentary on him and do it justice unless you get like 3 or 4 people, and we got 3 out of 4 of those people with the promise of the last one, when, not if. So, this person is incredibly busy, which, stands to reason. And like, we're not paying the guy. So like, it's on his time, but we are sitting on a 95% completed project, that I'm very proud of. It's weird for me because I'm never a fan when like a documentarian kind of interjects himself into it. So I tried to shoot it in a way to where like, I didn't have to fucking be a part of it like on screen. Well, all the notes I was getting, they're just like, why do we care about another actor that we haven't heard of? So like we need the personal elements. So unfortunately, I had to get my fat ass on screen and go fucking talk in front of a camera, which I hate.
I mean, it's not an actor universe. He had so many amazing roles before he got
Totally.
blacklisted, and that whole
Yep.
story. I was listening from the things that he's done on Kevin's podcast. It's such a fascinating story, and
Oh, totally.
as you say, just name drop Central.
And he was a real badass kind of asshole too. Like he would like rock up to like these Hollywood parties thrown by producers on his motorcycle, take all the liquor, put it in his backpack, and then just drive off into the night. It's just like that's fucking
Yes.
ballsy, man.
That's
But
amazing.
again, his performance in Tusk, I didn't, you wouldn't have known from the performance that he delivered in that, and obviously his
Not
performance
not in
in
the
Red State.
slightest. Yeah, like
Yeah.
not in the
His
slightest. I'm gonna
performance in Red State is a masterclass, isn't it? It's just like
Agreed.
sermons and everything else and the singing.
Well, and like I was lucky because I also put him in like he would always call me up like the dude needed bread just like any of us. So he's like, you got any projects? So I'd throw together like a music video and put him in the music video, and I'd throw together this. Like I feel bad for him because he's got to slum it with me, but like I was trying to help him out as much as I possibly could. But yeah, I mean, he never got the roles he deserved for sure.
No, it's just masterful actor.
Yeah.
I very much looking forward to seeing the documentary once it can be finished.
Thank you. I
So
very much look forward to it. And the other like beautiful thing out of that relationship, like I got his son James, and now James and I are incredibly close. And he's one of the sweetest dudes on the fucking planet. And like he was raised by Michael in a time where Michael was like on the road. So like they just kind of like James grew up on the road with Michael, driving from like gig to gig, sometimes living in houseboats for like a year, hanging out with Jean Renoir, like fucking like what an interesting way to fucking grow up. But like that's the other thing I got out of the situation is like a deep kinship with his son.
They're awesome.
That's beautiful. That's awesome.
I'm just gonna say
Can
real
I
quick.
interject and say something about
Wait,
it?
one moment,
Go
Al.
ahead, Phil.
I'm gonna let you guys carry the show for a minute. I've got construction
Okay.
going on outside. That's the weird humming noises you've been hearing for a minute. So I'm gonna mute myself for a bit. So
That's
that
all right.
I
I've
can
got a
keep
long
going.
list of.
Perfect.
I've got a long list. Of,
Thank you
Have
guys.
at it.
You're all amazing, and that was an amazing story. And yeah, Tusk, you never would have been able to tell that there was something going on there. His performance was absolutely stunning and terrifying.
It took a while to get there, but and honestly, like, and Kevin tells the story better than I ever could, and he tells it for the doc, thankfully. But remembering that dialogue and reciting that dialogue, it kind of helped kickstart his brain after like a really bad period of like inactivity. So that movie was like the best thing that could have happened to him at that time.
oh,
Speaking
yeah.
of documentaries about people and like you mentioned something about nobody wanting to watch the special features or whatever. Like I've been on this kind of kick where I'm just like looking for documentaries about filmmaking, and even
Sure.
things like Shudder is doing like the second season of Cursed Films, and there's Eli Roth's History of Horror, and like if you had an opportunity to do a show based on like the inside baseball of whatever you're passionate about, like say they give like AMC comes up and says you'll get whatever like kind of documentary where you can interview anyone, what would you do it about?
Oh man. Well, first,
Or even like
if they're gonna
or
pay, then I'm there regardless
no,
of
but what
whether
would
I
you
get to
pick?
choose the project.
Now,
No,
what's
I'm
your
trying
dream
to
project? I think is that
maybe like behind like famous albums, like famous punk rock albums. That would be a fun one because like a lot of those cats are still kicking, like almost all of them. So you could still get stuff, and maybe they had some archival material you could delve into. Like that
Absolutely.
would really warm my nerd heart.
But yeah, that I just wanted to defend everything about like docs and like special
I
features
I
and behind
agree.
the scenes.
Dude, it's my favorite content in the world. Like I love commentaries. Like I made sure that Magnum Opus had like a physical release with like deleted scenes you can only see there, and like a commentary with Kevin. Like physical media. Like I have a laser disc collection for fuck's sake.
I've
Like
Nice.
yeah, like I'm with you, but unfortunately the masses aren't with us,
the
which
way
sucks.
the way we connected was practically, not special features per se, but over a super edit that you did of the Evil Dead. For those
I'm such a fucking nerd, bro.
for those that don't know, the Evil Dead video game just came out recently, and Al and I have been absolutely obsessed playing it to no end.
I've not had a chance to get on the fucking road, man. It's killing me. I bought the deluxe edition. It's just sitting on my PS5 at home.
Oh man, we should definitely connect because we're
I'm
playing all the
down. I'm
time.
way
All the
down. I
time.
need a
That
team.
would be
I need a team.
amazing. That would be amazing.
But anyway, it has introduced a lot of new people to the Evil Dead, and that got me into talking a lot about how the movies don't connect properly with each other because of rights issues and copyright stuff. Um,
Yeah.
and so they had to almost remake the beginning of Evil Dead 1 to make Evil Dead 2 make sense, but they couldn't do it exactly like Evil Dead 1 or take up
Yeah.
too much time to, keep it moving. Plus, they didn't have a continuity guy when they were doing these movies, so they just kind of had to go off the cuff there.
Yeah.
But I've been deep diving into so much like behind the scenes and interview stuff, and it's made me think about how much I appreciate what like Disney is doing with the Mandalorian behind the scenes stuff and the panels
I
where
couldn't
they
agree
talk
more.
about
And they're
it.
doing like full length behind Marvel movie projects and shit. I'm in total agreement.
Yeah,
That's
and yeah,
awesome.
everything that
Yeah.
you're doing, I'm always there for every behind the scenes doc that you're working on because obviously I love the content. B, I love the content that you're actually filming about, and then C, it's just nice to see that stuff. It's nice to see those behind the scenes trials, tribulations, weather's not great right now stories.
Totally. It's
Um,
always been my favorite content. Like I cut my teeth on that shit growing up in Ohio. Like I'd rent a DVD from Blockbuster and like I rented a version of Evil Dead once that had like there's a rare version. I forget. It wasn't Shout that put it out. Somebody put it out, and it was Anchor Bay. And it had a bunch of bonus features that weren't on the other versions. So I
mm.
took my version of Evil Dead disc and theirs, and I swapped them out. And to this day, mine still has that little circle on the inside saying "Property of Blockbuster." I've got the bonus features that the other fuckers don't.
That's awesome. Yeah, and
That is amazing.
it sucks too because the rental industry you're talking about kind of died with Blockbuster.
Oh yeah,
But they started doing those like rental only versions of DVDs for rental houses and which cut all that stuff out.
yep,
Man,
totally.
it's been such a weird obviously we're all a little bit older, so we all remember, going to the end of a VHS and having maybe special features pop up at the end.
Maybe.
If you're lucky.
If you're
Yeah,
very lucky.
Star Wars was one, but like I don't remember a lot of them.
No, there's definitely not a ton. But I think that was what got me into the idea of, filmmaking and behind the scenes and special effects was like I was just watching it and I let the credits roll and then after the credits were over, something else started and I was like, "Wait, what's this?" And then
How
started
beautiful
watching,
is that?
right? Just to discover it just on a whim like that, not knowing it was there as like a young kid. And then from then
Almost like a
on,
hidden track on the album, like
yeah,
back when CDs were a thing, right?
absolutely.
So
And yeah, so from then on, it was like, oh, is this gonna have any behind the scenes stuff? And of course, it wasn't until DVDs that it really started. And even then, DVDs didn't start doing it right away. But when they did, they tried to build that value. They tried to get you like, this is why you should be moving away from your VHS because
yeah,
DVDs
totally.
have all this great potential for data storage and audio. And check this out, we can even do
And
behind
Kevin
the
was
scenes
at the
features.
forefront of
Yeah,
that. Like
Yeah.
he had the best content imaginable, and then eventually, like the studio
Infamous.
quit asking for it, and like a lot of those discs suffered for it. Like Tusk didn't have a lot. Red State didn't have a lot. So like when I started work for him, I was like, we can bring this back, buddy. Like you used to be the bonus feature champion. Like let's do it
I mean,
again.
Legendary commentary
Yeah,
tracks.
totally.
Yeah, that's
And
another
I'm not
thing.
sure if you saw when I showed you, I sent the picture of my collection on there. One of the films might stand out, which is Donnie Darko,
I
which
saw
is
that.
in the Kevin Smith show. But that is the DVD version where Kevin Smith does a commentary track on Donnie Darko, having had no
I'm very aware. I saw that. I was like, oh yeah, he's a nerd.
Yeah, and even that stuff, isn't done as much anymore. Now it's all about the live
Totally.
watch-alongs on YouTube, which are really cool.
Yeah, I mean, Reboot didn't even have a commentary track because the studio just didn't give a shit. Like I kind of had to fight for like Magnum Opus even to be a thing. Like they didn't see the value in it until they watched it, and they're like, oh yes, we can release this separately. Like
And they forget Kevin Smith fans are hardcore into their physical media.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
They
100%.
want the collection, etc. He's still one of the few where it sells very well. I know that's why Clerks 3 got funded, wasn't it? Literally off the DVD, because they'd only got the international, was it Universal got the international rights or whoever it was to Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, and the sales were so strong they were just like, yeah, what do you want to do next? We can make our money back on the sales of the physical media. So he's one of the least risky. I think it's one of the least risky people to put money into a movie for.
I agree, especially if it's under like the $10 million range. Like you'll get that back in sales in a year.
It's so interesting with the streaming environment that we live in now, because looking at things like Netflix, they're not doing a lot of physical media. They're not doing any behind the scenes features, and they're not making any money outside of subscriptions. So they're not getting like a theater revenue. They're not getting a DVD revenue. So they're like almost exclusively, hopefully, if the show's popular, merchandising and subscriptions.
Well, and like they fucking spend so much money. Not to bash on them, I like it, but like they spend so much money on these projects, and it's like, what happened to it 2 weeks later? Like I have to search for it. It's not in my featured stuff. Like the my list function is basically useless at this point. It just disappears into the ether, and it's like there goes 60 million.
Or the first item on it is the stuff that you watched 2 weeks ago, and it's like,
yes.
Why not show me the stuff I haven't watched at some point?
Totally.
The stuff I have watched.
Except for The Irishman, that I just watch on repeat.
It's definitely interesting, especially with how binge culture has kind of changed the market. Like, who's talking about Squid Games anymore? Like, it was so phenomenally, ridiculously popular for maybe a month as people discovered it, but then it kind of has dissipated since then.
Gone.
But if we are talking about streamers and stuff, I think we should really shout out Disney Plus, because they have actually been they're doing a lot of things, and they've got the extra tabs, and they've got bonus feature stuff in there, etc.
Totally.
It's nice.
Credit where credit's due.
I
never usually fanboy over the mouse, but like you're correct. You're very correct.
Yeah, I didn't know we were shooting for a sponsorship here today, but it seems like we're giving Disney a lot of props today.
I'm the mascot of an evil corporation.
Oh boy. Thanks, Josh.
I love that in South Park, the Mickey Mouse in South Park goes, "Who's this?" And then they say, "He's from South Park," and he's like, "Do I own that?" And they're like, "Not yet, sir."
Oh my gosh, this has nothing to do with anything, but I just found out that in the new Chip and Dale movie, Ugly Sonic was like Sega was not given any money for that. They used it under parody clause, and so they didn't give Sega any money for using Ugly Sonic.
There's a load of
it was so good too.
There's a load of weird references in that as well, isn't there?
Oh my gosh, there's so many weird references.
Yeah.
But the just whole South Park Mickey Mouse thing made me think of that.
Yeah, Randy's in that. He's in like the steam room or whatever.
I was told, and I saw like a little thumbnail, but I have yet to watch the movie, and I can't wait to watch it.
All the cameos started getting ruined for me, so I was like, I need to watch this now because like I want to have some element of surprise.
100%. Can I ask about a little weird thing that Kevin?
Of course. Are you talking about my dick?
No. We'll talk about that off recording.
Now for those who may be thinking about Americans saying the word dick, he's actually talking about his deck. His deck outside.
All right.
We have a friend from New Zealand, Josh, and whenever he mentions his
deck,
yeah, it sounds like he's saying something else.
Yep.
Nice.
So that's what we thought you were talking about.
Right.
Your small strange deck.
Talking about earlier, you mentioned how Kevin Smith was right on board for the special features stuff on DVDs, and like was from the early onset like proponent of that stuff. I found it very shocking, but very amusing and very beautiful that he was part of Nirvana, the band, the show.
Nirvana, the band, the show?
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Not familiar.
Are you familiar with Nathan For You? Nathan Fielder's little TV show where he does. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So basically, Nirvana, the band, the show is like a mixture of hidden camera footage with real people, and
Okay.
a written narrative, and they try to blend them together.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, and Kevin was in an episode at the film at a I want to say at Sundance. I'm not sure, but it was like shot from like a telephoto lens, like far away, and I couldn't tell if like he must have been known about it after the fact. But I
Right.
just wanted to know if you had any information about like how he got involved in that.
No, sorry, bro. But I'll check it out now. That sounds fantastic.
You have to. You would love it. It's a great
It's
show.
it's a bit difficult to get hold of in the US, isn't it? I think, or based on what Andy said.
I think Vice, if it's on iTunes, the first season is
Oh,
on
it's on there.
Yeah. But like it's a
Yeah,
Vice
I'll check it
Canada,
out.
Vice US thing, yeah. Sorry, I thought you would have some insight.
No,
into
you're
that.
totally good. I mean, at this point, like, at some point, I love the boy to death, but I stopped consuming all the Kevin Smith media.
Not only that, but he's doing so much all of the time.
It's hard to keep track.
Absolutely.
I sometimes wonder. There's two people in this world that I wonder how they have as much time to do what they do as they do, and that is Greg Miller, who's part of the fan base that watches our shows and the reason we have a small community behind us, and Kevin Smith. Those two.
And
Oh, go ahead, Mark.
yeah, I'll come back to another point in a second.
I was just gonna.
And Taika Waititi, like, he's all over the fucking place too. Like,
Yeah.
I think from what Kevin's thing is, he just doesn't sleep very much. But
I do not know that man's hours. Like he'll text me at the strangest times and never consistently. So I don't think he sleeps.
certainly not when he's making films, because he's editing all night, isn't it? It's ridiculous how he manages to do
crazy.
He's just
He gets like 2 or 3 hours of sleep a night. It's otherworldly. It's exhausting watching him.
he's found this pinnacle of weed consumption where his brain is in rest mode for like 70% of the day, so he's actually getting his sleep while he's still awake, but he's so
Nice.
intelligent
Sounds about
that he
right.
just sounds like a normal dude,
that. There's also a big connection. We might not be here if it wasn't for Kevin Smith, or Kind of Funny might not have been, because he was on their first episode when they moved away, and they did a Smodcast with him as well. So because they Kind of Funny is a gaming coverage thing, but they used to work at IGN and they quit, and that was the first episode was with Kevin Smith, and he had them on the Smodcast as well. So
I think my buddy's
lot of
obsessed
people-
with that podcast.
A lot of
Yeah.
people who know about Kind of Funny because of the Kevin Smith episode. That's like a common, well-known thing. You're not wrong there, Mark.
Yeah.
That's really funny. So going back to The Evil Dead for a moment, because I did bring it up for another reason besides special features and back documentaries and stuff. What is your horror background? Like, obviously you're a big fan of The Evil Dead, but I need to know.
I'm not a horror kid. I actually I haven't even watched Stranger Things season 4 because my wife's working in New York right now, and I can't watch it without her to hold my hand. Like, I am such a baby with horror. Like, I get scared shitless and can't sleep.
So
But
how
Why
do you,
Evil Dead's one of my favorite movies, I don't know.
No, but here's what my argument. I'm sorry to interject, but
Please.
if you're not scared of horror movies, you're not a horror fan. If it doesn't do
Okay.
anything for you, you're not going to enjoy it. That's how I feel about it.
I agree. If you're
I don't like being scared though.
well,
You do, you just don't know it.
there's a
Josh.
difference. There's a difference between being scared and not liking to be scared, and being scared and liking to be scared. But I agree that if you're watching horror movies and you're so desensitized that you're just like, whatever. It's like, why are you watching it in the first place?
That's fair. That's fair.
However,
Yeah, I'm similar. I don't like the horror films. That's why I took when Joe asked me to be on his horror podcast, I took Red State, which I still say is probably one of the most horrifying things you ever see, because there's no monsters and it's so plausible.
so I want to
You're not kidding.
apologize straight right now to Joe Mertens. He's a great guy. He recently started a horror podcast, and I was supposed to be on his one of his episodes recently, and then all this construction stuff started, and we have had to postpone. So I'm sorry, Joe. We will get that episode done. I can't wait to tell everybody what movie we're doing, but we'll get there later. Okay, so then that leads me to ask, what drew you to The Evil Dead?
I mean, Bruce Campbell's chiseled good looks, probably. I mean,
yeah.
No, God, I don't even know where I first saw it. Like, I've been watching Evil Dead 2 so long, and somebody showed me, but I don't know where I got started.
Well,
So it must have been like,
I can tell you from your blog post from like 2014. You
did I
told
write about that?
Yeah. You told a story about going into a movie rental place and seeing the cover of Army of Darkness and
That
seeing
is what it
the
is.
chiseled abs on, or the like muscular chest of Bruce Campbell. And you're like, I
There you
really want to
go.
see this movie. And then your
My
mom
mom wouldn't
wouldn't
let
let you.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's fresh because
that's
I just
totally
read
true.
it.
So that's definitely where it like imprinted in here like real hard at like the home video or home family video, I think it was back in the day. But I don't know when the first time I actually watched the movies is. Like that, I guess I remember pretty. What year did Army of Darkness even come out? Video. Like I'd
Honestly,
have to do some math here.
Yeah,
Was that
93,
90
maybe
something, yeah.
93. I'm just
so? I
guessing.
was like 7 years old. Like so, obviously at some point between then and like now, like like 12 years old, I watched Evil Dead 2, probably because of that memory. But like, I mean that cardboard cutout of him with the chainsaw and shit, God, is just ingrained in my fucking mind.
Now, did you ever watch Ash versus the Evil Dead?
I did. Season 1 is fantastic, and they really bring it home in season 4 towards the end. But like you could really feel the different showrunners kind of clashing there for a couple seasons.
In a couple of the behind the scenes things, there's definitely some stuff where Bruce is like, yeah, if we didn't like the guy, we just fired him. So they must have butted heads with some people there for sure.
Yeah, the season 1 and 2 showrunner had a idea where like Kelly would become you'd find out that it was Bruce Campbell, it was Ash's daughter. And like
Oh,
Sam Raimi and Rob Tappert fucking hated that idea, so they nixed it, fired him, and then got somebody else that I don't even remember his name, so I definitely don't know their name. But was very much like would just kind of do what they wanted, kind of show.
What does this guy have to
interesting.
do to be showrunner on Ash versus Evil Dead? You gotta wonder.
Yeah.
Army of Darkness 92. So I was close.
Okay, okay. So yeah, I was like 8 years old.
Okay.
But yeah, that Army of Darkness fucking poster. I don't blame you.
I'm muting
Right?
myself again.
Right, yeah. But yeah, speaking of, like, again, that's another pioneer in bonus footage, if you will, because I remember there's like a whole feature length B-roll movie of Evil Dead 2.
Sure.
I don't recall who was filming it at the time, but it's on pretty much all the DVDs of Evil Dead 2, and it's like a full feature length, just footage, just B-roll footage. Not even
That's fucking sick.
Not even like talking heads or anything like that. It was just like 80, 90 minutes of B-roll footage.
Just
And you gotta
cutscenes,
love that.
yeah.
And I wonder what they wanted to do with that, like at the time in '87, like maybe
Fair.
Laserdisc, or I don't know.
I mean, it could have been, yeah. I should ask my buddy I'm sorry, Bob Kurtzman. He worked on Evil Dead too. But I mean, like, if you want to talk about like the evils of bonus features, like, do you know how many times Anchor Bay sold me a copy of Evil Dead and a copy of Evil Dead 2? Like, at
Yes.
least 35 times per movie. Like, it's fucking. They gave us like 5 more minutes, put it back out, and of course, I got in line to buy
Don't blame you.
it.
Okay, so I was going to talk about your documentary Magnus Opus, which I think is genius. So
You're a
lots,
sweetheart.
as I said to you yesterday, like the way that you held the Kevin crying in front of the quick stop led up to it was just perfect. The most emotional payoff, the end, and very clever as well with the end of obviously having the closing with the New Orleans and then having the credits roll, but then having obviously because you don't want to miss out interviewing Matt Damon and Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, totally. And that was my issue when it first came out on disc was they cut off all the credits. So like we had to like re-release the disc and blah 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 blah, and that was like kind of a bummer because I was like, if all the things did not have the credits on, it's like it's two of the biggest stars. Like, let's fix this.
But I think one of the funniest bits is when you go out with when Muse grabs you to go. I love the fact that you kept that in as well. While
I mean,
Kevin's given his emotional rap speech, you're out in the parking lot.
yeah. And he's like,
Guys,
well, I called Batman Jr. It's probably a good thing you didn't capture that. Well, I will say, if you liked Magnum Opus, we made in my opinion, better documentary for Clerks 3.
awesome.
Okay,
Yeah, we
so
did Super 8 footage. Like, we did a lot of stuff on it. I tried to get as stylistic as humanly possible without taking away from like what I was showcasing.
so I just want to say real quick, this lines up with one of our community questions, which is from Heathen at Hemphil Waste. And he asks, will there be a Magnum Opus type documentary for Clerks 3?
There will be, but it's up to the studio in what regard it's released, or even if it's released. I mean, I don't know Lionsgate, but I know that they have it on a hard drive. So hopefully it's a bonus feature. Maybe it's a different release, or maybe it comes out for the 10th anniversary. I honestly don't know. But I will say, like, I put my heart and soul into it, just like Magnum Opus, and I think it's definitely worth watching if you like Kevin's content.
Yeah. Did you ever think that you'd be in a room interviewing Chris Hemsworth or Ben Affleck when you were a kid? Like,
I mean, like, honestly, my wife saw Australian, so like she got to like mic him up, and he was just like, "Do you need me to take my shirt off?" And she's just like, "Yes."
Nah.
She got very excited.
I mean, I don't know a human on this earth that wouldn't be excited, if I'm being honest.
Fucking Thor, I'd feel his chest up.
Right?
I always
if I was invited.
Right. Well, no, of course, consent is necessary.
I always loved the anecdote that Kevin Smith tells about that, of how Chris Hemsworth came and did shoot with you. You interviewed him and then went on the Ellen show and then flew to London for one of the Avengers premiere, and he said it was his most important thing of the day was shooting Reboot, which, yeah. But
yeah, he was a sweetheart. I was really, anybody that big, I always expect him to be an asshole. And he was fucking fantastic. Like, he was an absolute sweetheart.
Yeah, I don't think he'd be as universally like loved and wanted on so many projects if he wasn't, a nice guy.
Totally. Yeah, and like, he and his team, like, we all ordered lunches, and they picked out whatever they wanted, but like, they had to run to the Ellen show, so they didn't have time to eat it. But they stopped off, and I believe they donated it to like, a halfway house or something on the way to make sure that like, they didn't go to waste. Like, kind of guy he is.
That's awesome. All right, I'm going to get through some of the community questions real quick so I can mute myself again after this. So first one comes up from Andy Mack at Andy Mack Game 99999999995. If someone where I'm gonna say how it's written here. If someone where to make a film in the View Askew universe, who would want to make it? Also, what is your opinion on Scott Pilgrim movie?
Yes, this I'm looking forward to. First off, the only people that should ever make anything in the Askew universe is Kevin. Like, I mean, that goes without saying. I'll throw Jay and Bob as like something in one of my movies one day, just as like a little cameo. But that's his world, man. Like, yes. Speaking of Scott Pilgrim.
Yes, this comes from I've run a community Zoom for 2 years now over the pandemic, etc., which we did like weekly first for the first year, and now we're doing monthly. I rewatched it recently, and whilst I think the film, every element of it is done, the music is amazing, the acting, is amazing. I
a lot of preamble here.
I couldn't stomach it anymore. It is just so toxic when you look at it through obviously a current lens, I know, made in the time, but I think also it's really detrimental by the fact that they have no chemistry together, and she just seems disinterested and all the rest of it. But the bit which really got me was like there was the one person, there's two people in the film who stood up to him and like actually with a voice of reason. One of them gets hit by he just gets slapped down Brandon Roth, Superman or whatever, and then he's then just humbled. But then it's when the sister at the end, and it's the husband's off, and she's like, "Oh, not again!" It just takes him out at the knees, and obviously it just, yeah, I don't know. When you go back and watch it,
that's fair.
2020 lens, it just is all hell kind of problematic. And the factor that they don't have, you can't see the camera. She literally just like he's having a fight, and she just walks off at some point or whatever. It's just
I mean, I agree with you with like the today's lens looking backwards stuff. Like I can definitely see that point. But honestly, with like fucking Edgar Wright, you could put cardboard cutouts on there and done all the same effects with it, and I would have been a big fan because I adore that dude's visual style so much.
Dude, the way he plays with aspect ratios and blends the special effects and like just isn't afraid to throw crazy text on the screen or
leans right into it.
100%.
What's wrong with cardboard cutouts?
What's that?
What's wrong with cardboard cutouts?
That's true. That's true. It's one of my favorite shows.
Earlier in the show, he said that he was it randomly racist? He's randomly racist against cardboard cutouts. What are you going to do?
Casually racist.
Casually racist. Sorry, thank you.
Josh, I went to take a quick leak, for lack of a better term, and I thought you would appreciate this. So, I had this right over here for like, I don't know, 10 episodes, and nobody even knew, including you, Mark, by the way. Remember, there was like a little thing that I said, wonder what happened to Ashley Johnson, and like Mark posted something in the comments saying, I have no idea what Al is talking about. But this is what I was talking about.
That's great. There's I think FYE did a blood splattered variant on it that I don't have.
Nice. I'll have to go.
That's how deep I go.
Yes,
if we're getting figures.
Did you ever?
I'm at my work desk and that sits there.
I think there's a big bunch of boxes of those over
there. We can't compete with that, Josh.
For those
but I stare
at home
behind my laptop when I'm working.
Question. Did you have the Book of the Dead edition of Evil Dead 1, the DVD?
I did, and I don't know where it left I don't know where I left it along the way. Like I moved a bunch of times, but like that latex cover was not long for the world.
No, and it was like it had instructions to put it in the freezer for some reason. I was
right.
And it was like, well, I don't even know. Like, it was awesome.
What they just
it was great, and I love that. Like you poke the eye and it squeal. Like that was great. I'm so nerdy. Like I even like built a full size replica of the chainsaw, like from like the original parts and shit. Like,
oh my god,
I go deep, bro.
What they didn't tell you is that version of the movie was actually made of human flesh, and you didn't just buy that one version. It gets purchased by someone, and then they have it for a period of time, and then it leaves them, and then someone else buys the same version. It's just traveling from person to person. Also, for audio listeners, I would like to say that Josh just pointed to a room within the basement of the secret stash. That's what you're missing out on.
That's true.
Josh, I have a community question for you, if that's okay.
Please.
James, aka at GetRad Scumbag.
underscore.
Can't leave out the underscores. So James at get_rad_scumbag. Happy now, Phil?
Yeah.
All right.
How did he need why did he need the underscores with such a
I don't know.
I'm sure Get Rad Scumbag was not taken. I'm telling you. Follow up.
You're probably not wrong.
Where did Josh Roush get his PhD? Is the question.
So I'm a huge Hunter S. Thompson fan. And he got his out of the back of a Playboy. It was like, what is it? The Universal Life Church. You could send $10 away, call yourself, you get a doctorate, essentially. So like, and to this day, like I think I still carry it. Yeah. Church of the Universal Life. So that is where I got my doctorate. I think now they've raised the prices, the current economy, $25.
I thought he was an actual doctor of journalism.
Fuck no.
He obviously got honorary degrees, etc. later on in.
Yeah, I thought it was like an honorary journalism, proper journalism degree, but
Oh yeah, no way. I'm just a big Hunter fan.
oh, gotta love it, Josh.
Yeah. Exactly. Kevin Smith and Hunter S. Thompson were my teen years, were my main things, and
Sure.
I noticed. I obviously saw you'd restored one of the things that's been saved for my watch later list on your current channel. I was like, oh, awesome! I'll watch that later. But I'll watch the stuff with you leading up to this. And I also noticed in your wedding, like the interstitials were very Ralph Garman-esque, etc.
Yep.
Like that was
Stedman, yeah.
Stedman, yes,
Stedman.
absolutely. Let's go.
Yeah, when I was doing Tusk, like, I got to hang out with Depp one day, and there's just like, I don't give a shit about celebrity. It's not my thing. But I was like, you gotta tell me. I'm like, what was the doctor like? Like, just tell me stories. So he talked to me like for a half an hour about Hunter S. Thompson.
Nice. The guy hung out with him, like just fucking spent time with him.
Oh
yeah, he slept like in his basement for like a month, like studying
crazy.
like the role. Like,
so I can't remember one of the DVD documentaries or whatever. There's a brilliant shot with them in the back of the car, and they've both got the hats on and the glasses or whatever.
Breakfast with Hunter, I believe.
Yes. And it takes you like 2 minutes to work out which one's Depp and which one's Hunter, because they're kind of looking down at the it's just
God,
it's such an like you just see how amazingly he managed to
and I think Hunter actually cut in the male receding hairline into Depp's head.
That's absolutely true. It was in the documentary. Speaking, we're like full circle back to documentaries being exactly what fucking we should hold on to and not like let die.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got 3 under my belt now. I've got plans for like another one that I'm not really ready to talk about just yet because it's like real weird and experimental. But like, I just did Wrong Reasons, which is my first narrative feature. But my heart and soul is in the documentary format. Like, I wholly love fucking documentaries.
Yeah, when I went on a road trip to go to KFL, one of the kind of funny live events. The first time I went with my parents, and we did flew into LA, went Route 1, San Francisco, Yosemite, Death Valley, Vegas, and then when we were passing through bars, I was like, "Can you just pull off here and drive to the edge of town?" So I could get a picture with the bar station. Like,
that's great.
Don't worry, I just need it. But yeah, I was, Hunter was amazing, and Depp's performance is
totally
is brilliant. I still swear Pirates of the Caribbean is based on Hunter, but Disney wouldn't let him say that. They said
so we're going Keith Richards then.
Yeah, Keith Richards, a bit more palatable for our audience.
I had to explain to Phil why a certain username of mine was Take the Ride. So
nice. Take the ride, man.
Exactly.
Which is the Stars one that they made.
I had I still have the shirt. I went to a physiotherapy session one time, and the guy and it said buy the ticket, take the ride, and he's like, why buy the ticket if you can get the ride for free? And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you think this is about, but it's not that.
Oh, here.
Oh, awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Gotta love the Gonzo.
Yes, sir.
That's the shelf underneath as well as the Hunter half a shelf of that.
Nice.
All of the Hunter stuff.
I think I've got everything physical media that he did. I mean, if you ever have time, if you've went through the CD box set of just his raw journals, and his raw stream of thought, it's so fucking good.
Oh, yeah.
The Hell's Angels tapes as well.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Quintessential new journalism, when it was coming around in 60s.
All right. Next community question is from the one, the only Mark Freeman at the Indie Boy 1. I always love doing questions from people that are on the show. Now he says this is his first question. Obviously, this isn't his first question because he's asked many throughout the show so far.
Yeah.
But
I asked if not knowing I was going to be on the show, and then it was like, all right, I'll say
it was like I had reached out to him and I sent him the link that we were doing it, but I hadn't quite typed out, hey, do you want to be on the show yet? And he had already asked this question before I said it.
That's adorable.
But his question is favorite Kevin Smith film, and then says mine is Reboot, which is also my favorite film of all time.
Yeah, I lost count after watching
favorite
it.
film of all time.
Yeah,
That's a statement.
I lost count of how many times I watched it after I hit 37. I stopped.
Okay.
37.
Did you see me in it?
Affleck scene. I haven't rewatched Reboot. Obviously, rewatched Magnum Opus, etc. I wouldn't. Again, you've always been a name to me. Sure. Because obviously, it's Kevin Moore talking about you, or like a Babylon, like you're at the back. You can't really see you that way,
So when Keith Coogan opens the door in Reboot, I'm the guy that walks out with the camera. Like I'm in like 6 seconds, if that.
It still counts. It's still in my favorite movie of all time.
That's the beautiful thing about Reboot is there's so many ridiculous references throughout every millimeter. I mean, we'll say digital kilobyte of that
film. Very quick, Phil. Appreciate it.
Oh, do we lose Josh? Oh, we've got Robot Josh, everybody. We wanted to introduce
Robot Josh
to the fact
favorite
that
Kevin movies. Hello, you guys see me?
Hey,
uh-oh.
We're getting him back. Here? He's almost back.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody must have hit the internet real hard with some streaming or something.
Oh yeah,
you guys got me?
It's you're still a little bit behind. Okay, looks like you're good now.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep, perfect.
Okay, cool. Groovy. Dogma, favorite Kevin movie. Groovy.
It's a fantastic movie as well. I mean, all of it as well.
I think in general.
Favorite documentary, Josh? Can I ask that even?
Ooh, of course you can. Probably Breakfast with Hunter. Like, just like how lo-fi, not talking heady, like it's just observational. Everything now is just like all talking heads and stuff, and it's like it takes a lot of balls to just do like observational doc. Like I love that.
Something very not observational, but what did you think of Take Hold? I don't know why that just popped in my head for some reason.
What is Take Hold?
Tickled.
Tickled. What is Tickled?
Ooh, it's a weird documentary about maybe look it up and watch it.
Oh.
It's like I would say it's the documentary that maybe just.
I'm nervous as to why he's dancing around what it's about.
You're right.
Well, I'm assuming it's Tickle Factory.
Well, you're not supposed to know what it ends up being about. That's
okay. Thank you for the preface, because now at least I feel better about it.
I was like, this sounds like some dark subject material.
Are we gonna get taken down on YouTube?
Being tickled?
Yeah.
It's not. Okay. It's probably on Netflix. But it takes a weird turn, man. Like yeah, I would love your input on like maybe tweet it out. I just followed you. I can't believe I wasn't following you already, and so I would love to just hear your thoughts about that as a documentarian.
Totally. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it. F for Fake is another one that I love because Orson Welles is just fucking genius. Like anytime he talks, I'm like, you have my full attention. Like, yeah, I'd have to think longer about some other references that would make me look cool on camera.
I'm a particular fan of This Film Is Not Yet Rated. Obviously, and Fuck, which features both Kevin and Hunter S. Thompson.
Yes. Yeah, totally. That's one that I haven't seen on streaming in quite a long time. I think I've got the physical discs, but I don't think I've came across it in years for streaming.
That's another thing that is problematic with streaming. I think documentaries don't get what they deserve with streaming services.
Yep. I agree, 100%. We're just now talking to distribution houses about our feature length and our documentary on Michael, and man, the market just sucks. man, the market sucks.
There's been such an interesting influx in documentary style stuff too with streaming, but it's about stuff that I could care less about.
Yeah, totally.
Like Hulu did the one about the fire whatever, I don't even remember what it's called because I don't care
Well,
enough.
Yeah, the festival.
Yeah.
And then there was another one a week later, wasn't there, or something as well?
Yeah,
Like,
Yep.
probably.
on a different streaming
Competing
service.
streaming services. Yeah.
Oh, there goes Phil.
There we go again. But I'll bring it back. Have you seen the Harry Dean Stanton documentary?
On Harry Dean Stanton?
Yeah.
I have not, but I would love to. I fucking adored
You-
that cat.
You have to. That's a great one to watch. Definitely, I would say.
Okay.
Just a personal opinion here.
Yeah, he was in that the Stars one that I mentioned earlier, the Buy the Ticket, Take the Ride, the documentary on Hunter, and he's great in that. Like he sings like, what he was gonna sing at his funeral, which is like Danny Boy, oh Danny Boy. What an interesting cat that guy was, man.
Absolutely.
Oh, do you have
I'm
any
just
more?
giving you. I'm at this point. I'm just giving you recommendations for you to watch, and then maybe
I'll
tweet
take
about
him. I'll take him.
Mark, any questions?
All right. I can go. So we've said it a few times. You've got a feature-length film called Wrong Reasons.
Yep.
I can't find a pitch for it anywhere or any other details. So, is there anything that you can share, or other than Kevin's in it and Ralph's in it and a few your casts out on IMDb, I saw, but other than
Yeah,
that,
well, part of the cast is out. We're not allowed to release the full cast yet until I'll tell you guys. I don't give a shit.
yeah,
But like publicity or whatever, which
yeah.
I guess this probably doesn't count for. We're not allowed to mention anything until the poster comes out. But we've been holding the poster back. It broke my heart. Kevin's an EP on it. I shot a poster for Wrong Reasons, and he fucking hated it. He fucking hated it. And he took me to size, like he cut my knees off, and I was like, okay, like, can you do better? And he drove all the way to downtown LA. We organized a different shoot, and he designed it, and he had Alan Amata, who's like his main photographer, come and shoot it. And I was wrong. It's a great poster. But so Kevin actually directed the photo shoot for my movie, which was very sweet of him. What was the original question? I got off on a tangent.
So, is there a
Oh,
paragraph describing
so
what is Wrong Reasons? If you can
So
talk.
let's see. Let me. I'll actually read you the log line. When an ambiguously intentioned masked man kidnaps a drug-addicted punk singer, it triggers a massive police investigation as well as a media circus. So I have to have my cheat sheet up. We got James Parks is one of the main stars. We also got Ralph Garman, Teresa Ruiz maybe. Daniel Roebuck, who is about to play Grandpa in fucking the new Monsters remake, which is fucking
Nice.
sick. We got Kevin stars in it. We got David Keckner, Keith Coogan, Matt Passmore, and we got Harley in it.
God, what was working with Keckner like?
It's really cool because like him and I I spent like 2 years working at the Hollywood Improv, being like the sound guy, and
Sorry,
like
was he a Second City guy or was he?
I don't know his history, honestly. I know like he came into my peripherals for The Office, but I don't know his history before that, honestly. But he was like he'd sit down next to me and we'd just shoot the shit, and he just showed me naked pictures of his wife, and I was like, I like this guy. He's fucking weird. So like we kept up with each other, and when it came time, like I cast him, and it's like it's a dramatic role for him. Like it's we keep using the term dramedy for the movie. I fucking hate the goddamn term, but it's as accurate as anything else could be. But like he turns in like a dramatic role. He fucking crushed. Like he's got obviously he had this muscle that he doesn't get to flex very often, and
I
like
was
he
just gonna say I've
fucking
never
blew us
seen
away.
him do that.
Yeah.
I've never seen him he's one of the very few rare comedic actors I've never seen do a drama.
And he knocked it
Sorry,
out
go
of the
ahead.
park. That's all.
course.
I just found the other question that the follow up that I asked was in
Okay.
relation to. So sorry about that. It's also from James at get_rad_scumbag. Will Josh Roush ever start his own podcast?
So I had one for a few years called the Soapbox Office, and you can hear me keep clearing my throat. I'm asthmatic, and I'm a little I'm a little take issue with it. So like when I would go to edit the podcast, I'd be in Pro Tools and I'd cut every cough out, every hack, every flimmy fucking breath that I had. And it's just too much work, man. Like it's so much fucking work. I don't really particularly like the podcast format very much. I loved directors' commentaries on movies because there's like a visual thing going on. Something like this I would watch because you're actually watching the entertainers. But like putting stuff on when I'm in the car, like that's music time. I get very little music time in my life. That's mostly where I do it now. So but that said, my buddy Cam and I, who's like the composer, he composed all the music for Walrus Yes, Magnum Opus, the new Clerks one. He did All of Wrong Reasons. We're starting to talk about maybe doing a podcast called "Is This Punk?" And what it essentially would be is just us taking various things like Nirvana. Was that punk? And the idea is never to give a concrete answer, but rather just explore both sides of the topic. Like we don't want to like ram our opinion down your throat, but like it is an interesting conversation. It's like, were they punk rock? Well, they sold out to a media like a huge studio, but by the same token, they were touring with Dinosaur Jr. and shit like that. So to me, it's like interesting. It's very fertile ground to be plowed. So we're talking about doing that in the near soon, but no plans in place just yet.
Is that your passion?
Okay.
Go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to say, plus you have to listen to God knows how many hours of Kevin's podcast while they're being recorded.
I mean, at this point, if I'm not paid to be part of a podcast, in terms of recording it, I'm usually good.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna ask, what genre are you into in music? Like we didn't even touch on that.
That's
Sure.
what I was gonna bring up is for the audio files, for the music files, the love knowing what kind of music our guests like, which is you'd be surprised how many want to know these questions, the answers to these questions. Let's hear these music tastes.
Thank you. I mean, honestly, I'm a record hoarder at this point. Like I've got over 600 discs. Like my Discogs collection is like up to it says it's worth like $40K.
Now,
I think it's worth a little bit more than that.
For the kids out there that may not know what a record is, can you explain what a record is?
I mean, honestly, record sales are outselling CDs these days. Like almost all the kids have a turntable these days.
I know, it's actually kind of incredible how much vinyl has come back. I love
physical media, man. I'm a fan of any form of it, so I'm embracing it.
We were just talking about how little Netflix does as far as physical releases, but I will say there's a lot of vinyl. Like nice. I remember when the vinyl for Bly Manor came out for Netflix's Bly Manor. Yeah,
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, the vinyl came out for that. Rahul's on the cover, if I remember correctly.
Awesome. Well, and I like that they're finally doing Irishman. A few of them have got Criterion releases. Very few and far between, but
the Adam Sandler piece. What was it
called?
Gems.
Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems. That's on Criterion.
Yeah,
on 4K UHD.
Yeah, I love it. I fucking love it.
You love to see it, right? Like this.
Yep.
We're just fucking we were just talking about Netflix just being a streaming service, and now they're releasing their shit on physical. And it's
only
beautiful.
So few and far between, unfortunately. If we could get more stuff like Mike Flanagan's stuff, if we could get that out there,
yes.
But back to the music question, I just have to name drop some shit. We got Making Wrong Reasons. I used every single favor I've ever fucking earned in this industry, and a lot of them, I've shot a lot of music stuff along the way. So in the soundtrack, I'm just gonna name drop. We got Tim Armstrong does a song. We got L7. Tim's from Rancid, sorry. Tim Armstrong, L7, Channel 3, Black Flag, X, The Wipers, and The Unseen. Which, if you're into punk rock, that runs the gamut. of eras of punk rock. So
That's
we
awesome.
we got them all agree to do it for a paltry minimum fee, because it's, what's it called? It's universal rights. Essentially, whatever you pay one, you have to pay across the board to all the others, and they all agreed to it like the lowest fee possible.
For any soundtrack? Does
awesome.
that apply to all soundtracks?
No.
The soundtrack in the movie, no, I don't think it does. But the way that we organized the deal, it did.
I see.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can. I think based upon what Kevin said in the past or whatever, a band can ask for whatever they
Yes.
want. However,
Yeah.
they can set the figure, so that's why he hasn't been able to use. Occasionally can't get the songs that he wants. So apparently he's
Totally. Yeah,
best.
we did a most favored nations deal, which is generally what you do when you're like low, and it just says like, we agree at this, and like across the board, like we have to get at least what the most favored nation is at that point. So that was how we organized the music deal. That's all my wife's territory. She's the smart one. I'm the dumb one that aims things and tries to make them pretty.
Yeah, I do have a note here saying, "Can we interview Liv?" Because I heard in some of your interviews, you've said she's actually the talent.
Dude, she's out there like in New York working on like
stuff.
Probably can't
really cool
say
stuff.
it. There's
really cool stuff. That's it. That's really cool.
really
stuff.
cool stuff. There's a movie being made about a composer right now that she may or may not be a part of.
Whatever she's working on, straight fire. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
There we go. For audio listeners, Al just brought out a Necronomicon.
Yeah, I do have one of those. This is from the game. This is not the DVD that I mentioned earlier. I'm so glad you
Is
said
that the pre-order?
Punk. Yeah, that is the pre-order.
I was thinking about getting that, but it's sold out too quickly.
It's $2,500 on eBay right now. That's crazy.
Lord.
Oh,
yeah,
that's pretty sick, man. Tom Sullivan was making them out of his house, the guy who designed the original one and the first one, and selling them for years online. And now they just went away and you can't find them.
You can find the DVD that we both owned at one point.
Mm-hmm.
That's going for like $100, so that's not as bad.
You mean the same?
Yeah,
one?
he was making like one of a kind, customized from the original molds and shit for years, like when the internet was early. But I never jumped on it as a kid.
That's fucking awesome. I would love to own one of those.
Yeah.
I was saying earlier, I'm so glad you said punk and not like heavy metal based on the studs on your vest. I'm just saying, I love you, man, but I'm so glad you said punk. Like I might be seeing Rancid in August.
Oh fuck
in Colorado for the 25th anniversary of South Park. So maybe
that's fucking sick.
Yeah.
Dude, what was that Brad Lowe track they played for that? Yeah, that's one of my favorite songs of theirs.
Oh, it's so good. So good.
Yeah. Oh no, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You're the guy.
Oh, I've shot with Tim 2 or 3 times. I've shot with Lars once now. They're the sweetest motherfuckers on the planet. Like, I try at this point in my career not to work with people that I look up to, because it's just really easy to catch people on a bad day. And like, honestly, after working with Kevin, like, the nicest guy in the fucking planet. Like, everybody else is just kind of ruined for me. But like those 2 guys in particular, I was like, fucking. And Matt Freeman was very nice too. I shot like 1 song of his, but like they're all fucking uber sweethearts. I was very impressed by how cool they were, and they dealt with me poking and prodding and nerding out pretty well.
All right, I'm gonna poke and prod a little bit,
please,
and then I'll shut up.
You have another community question after this, Al, so you can't shut up.
I know. All right. Well, if you were to describe the music you were making when you were in bands, what would be the closest kind of
Orange County punk rock from the 90s, maybe 80s, in terms of adolescence, Channel 3, not
angsty?
Quite Social D, angsty, very angsty. Little, what's that?
I just said let's go.
Yeah. Fuck
myself. I've been in a few bands myself. I love it. You love to see it. You love to see musicians plus filmmakers. You mentioned Depp earlier. Like, it's just nice to see. It's nice to see other people sharing both passions.
Totally. I totally agree.
It makes you not feel weird about what you like.
Yeah, totally. And like my bandmate for a lot of that stuff back in the time, and I'm still technically in a band called The Overrides with my buddy Cam, who does all the music for our stuff. like him and I, like we go back like 12, 15 years at this point. And like, so like I get to play on his album. I don't do the touring and stuff, but like I get to play on the album, so I scratch that itch. And like Liv's got a band that, we just haven't done anything live yet because of COVID. But we came out with our first album that she wrote and sang on called Byproduct that we also feature in the movie. Like I found a way to carve a way for me to play in music and dabble in it, but still be able to be over here in film. So it's
So awesome. You'll love to see it, honestly.
yeah.
Thank you for representing a weird little niche of like people who love both. All right. It's time for me to shut up, so I'll ask my last community question, Phil, and then you can take it from here. How did Josh meet Kevin? Asks Maverick 000, aka Stephen Greening. How did Josh meet Kevin?
I was a big fanboy. I think my original passwords were like Askew View 37, like a fucking uber fanboy. And he did this thing in California 10, 12 years ago where you could, like, when he had this West Coast stash, if you bought like $100 thing of merch, you would get a ticket to play poker with him. And then it's like a cash game. And like, yeah, so I started playing poker with him like every 2 weeks. And like, this was like when he was shooting like Die Hard 4, I think, because he was talking about how nice Willis was at that point. That changed. But that's like where I kind of came into the picture, and I was like, man, this guy's. And then I saw him at a signing event afterwards. He was like, Josh, how you doing? I'm like, how the fuck do you remember my name? Like ain't you got better shit to do, bro? But like, it was so endearing and shit. And it's like, at some point, I just, it went beyond the work that he's done. And I was like, man, I'll follow you anywhere. Like, you're just a fucking legit cat. Like, and since then, I've literally followed him fucking everywhere. I'm sitting in the, in a fucking dungeon right now, getting ready to shoot for him again.
Yeah, we haven't asked. We specifically have not asked why you were in the stash.
and I can't say, but when it does come out, I will alert attention to this interview.
We appreciate that. We appreciate that. So I have one more community question for you, and it's from @PhilJWoodward on Twitter, aka myself.
And fuck is that?
Guy sounds like an asshole.
He is. He's quantum asshole. So you don't have to answer this question. It's out of the like craziness of everything that's going on. You may not even know if it's going on, but is Moose Jaws ever going to be real?
So I mean, it's written. I haven't read it, but I know his heart's behind it. So like, I've never seen him talk passionately about something that didn't come to fruition eventually. I mean, that's got to be. I mean, think about that subject. That's got to be tough to finance.
Oh,
and I'm not saying that is the case. I truly don't know. But like, when you start thinking about the subject, I bet that'd be hard to get people fucking on board for money. So that would be my assumption of what's going on. I truthfully have no inside, baseball knowledge of it.
I figured that would probably be the case, but I'm really looking forward to Antlers, the behind the scenes documentary for Moose Jaws.
You just named it, bro. That's what it is now.
Holy fuck.
Well done.
Nice.
You'll get a little credit, titled by.
Oh my god, that would be awesome. Please do it, Josh. He's not going to beg you for it, so I will. Please do it.
And that's it for our community questions for the day.
Oh, we were trying to get him some voice work as well, so if you ever...
Okay.
Oh man,
you
come work on my shit any day, bro.
Hey,
he does a great Mark Hamill Joker.
Okay, let's hear it.
Oh God, don't worry, don't worry, Josh. I'll give you whatever you want.
That's fucking legit. That's fucking cool, man.
I don't know if you've got an out time on this because I've got a million other questions that I can ask.
Okay.
You, but, let us know if you need to make a move at any point.
Yeah, I should probably move on in like 10-15 or something like that, just because I've got like camera gear I got to test out. But I'm not in any rush. You guys are fun. This is great.
So, what was it like? Tell us a funny story from the car of the Reboot Roadshow tour with Kevin and driving around?
Jay does more farting than he does talking. He's a baby. He's a fucking infant. He gets in the back of the car and he falls asleep instantly. Every single time. Every single time for the entire car ride, unless he farts, wakes himself up, and he's like, he fucking goes right back to sleep. You got to admire that kind of fucking like monstrosity. Like, he's such a dickhead. I mean, it was honestly, I don't know if like, Kevin's already said I'm doing the Clerks 3 tour. He said that out loud, so I'm not like betraying anything. We're going to do it again. I mean, you can't capture lightning in a bottle for me. Like, it was the four of us, me, Liv, Jason, and Kevin, in an SUV driving across the country in what was designed to be a flight tour. Like, you fly here and then you fly here, so you crisscross a lot. But we discovered, like, we had so much gear and, like, none of us liked fucking security. And, like, Kevin carries pot on him. That, like, flying was not like the easiest way, so we decided to drive everywhere. But because it was designed to be a flight tour, it was a lot of back and forth and zigzagging and stuff. So like we clocked crazy hours in that SUV. But it was the time of my life, man. Like, it was like Kevin and I like bonded over Tom Waits. Like, we're both fucking massive Tom Waits fans. Like, Jay was showing me like fucking local New Jersey punk rock from his youth. Like, it was amazing. Time of my life.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention one of my favorite bands, just to see if you're into them.
Okay.
Have you heard of the Strokes? Have you listened to any of the Strokes?
I think that they did punk rock bowling a few years ago.
Small indie band, the Strokes.
Yeah.
You know what's funny though, Phil? To me, they still are. Yeah, absolutely.
They've permeated so much of the culture now, though.
I would say hard like, do not love. Hard like, do not love.
Okay, fair enough. They had their punky sort of garage rock moments like back in the day, like
sure,
pre their debut album, but then they moved in a different direction. Sorry.
I think they did punk rock bowling a few years ago because I'm pretty sure I saw them, and that's where it would have been if I did, out in Vegas.
So what are some bands that you're like listening to? Some contemporary bands that you're listening to right now?
Viagra Boys are fucking like constantly all over my playlist. They're the singer's from LA, but he moved to Sweden as a kid, and I believe they are Swedish punk rock mixed with like a little EDM kind of flair. But when they play live, it's all fucking punk rock, and they are fucking mesmerizing as shit.
Interesting. Viagra Boys, you say?
Yeah. Trying to think of like other older stuff. What's that? Doing a podcast. You want to come be on it? In the dungeon. Let's see what else contemporary. I mean, I can just look at my title.
I wonder when their combat band is going to come out called the Blue Chew Boys.
What's that?
A really dumb joke. There's a Viagra alternative that always gets touted on podcasts. Note, we're not sponsored. Called Blue Chew. That's funny. And so I was just wondering when the Blue Chew Boys were going to be a combat band.
Set up.
Oh yeah, I know, right?
Hello.
They can't hear you.
In the basement.
Here, do you want an earphone? She's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Employees of the stash. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, everybody here is a big family, and they're all amazing. I love everybody here. Except for her. She sucks.
Oh! What do you can you say what her name is on the show? Is that no? Okay, we won't do that.
Okay.
Let's not do that.
Just a random little cameo.
Yep.
Okay.
Shout out. All right, Mark, let's get going. What are these questions?
I mean, I was just kind of the stories that I've seen or whatever. The how Muse introduced you to Affleck is what I wouldn't.
He's like I said, he's my favorite monster. So like I'm sitting down with Affleck and like micing him up, and Liv's in the room, and it's always like a moment of like kind of awkwardness before like you get started with the subject and stuff. So like Affleck sits down, I get ready to ask him his first question. Boom, fucking door opens, music explodes in. He's like, bro, like he met her on a one night stand, and then they fucked because of Jay and Silent Bob, and then he just ran out of the room. And like Affleck and I look at each other, it's just like, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jason Mewes. He never hesitates to tell anybody that I meet with Liv, because Liv is extremely hot and I'm extremely fucking not. How Jay and Silent Bob is responsible for the fact that I'm punching above my weight.
Yeah. I also loved in his toast at the wedding, he said I fucked up because she was on and Silent Bob get old, and in the segment Let Us Fuck.
Yeah.
It's pantomime fucking.
I've heard I fucked her first a lot of times from Jason.
News, what a legend. So yeah, that was
that was a good laugh, is what that was.
Yeah.
I think her name's Sarah, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't want to be an asshole. I'm really bad with names. That's nothing against her. I'm just a fucking like egocentric prick.
Welcome to the club, buddy.
I must admit, I did love the where Jordan turns around to you in the reboot doc. That's not going anywhere, Josh.
Right? Of course, I thought that whole time. I'm like, oh, I'm fucking using that.
Really?
Did you listen to the commentary? Do you own the disc?
Yeah.
I was very stoked. That was
no. Oh, sorry, no, I couldn't get. It never. I don't think it ever came to the UK.
Oh, okay. I mean, that makes sense. Unfortunately,
yeah.
I'll send you a copy. I'll get it signed and I'll send you a copy.
Oh my god, that would be awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was the nerd moment for me, where it's just like, okay, like I'm not gonna say I made it. Like, what an egocentric thing to fucking say, but it was like that was a checkbox. That was a big checkbox for me. It's like, did a commentary, did it with Kevin on a documentary about him. I was like, that's.
Yeah, I just got it on Amazon.
Inflated me a little bit.
Like on the video, Amazon Video or whatever, because that was my only way to get it over here, I think.
Sure.
Or I missed it and they sold out instantly.
The distribution on it.
Yeah. But
touchy subject.
Yeah, documentaries and all the rest of it, isn't it?
Here's my question. For people like us, we're still very much interested in doing things creatively. And we're all about what, like 35 almost?
37.
37.
In a row.
Do you think,
every time.
what would you say to someone like us as opposed to someone like you who's actually made it?
Oh, bro, I ain't made shit. Like, I'm still
you have. Don't give me that, Josh, please.
I mean, truthfully, no. Like, I struggled to fucking like Wrong Reasons cost $92K. Like, we got half of that because Kevin ended up doing a cameo type thing that we called Kevio. Essentially, I shot him through a teleprompter, and he would say whatever people put in his mouth. He loves saying that. And like, we used the money to raise half the funds for my feature. Like, I guess I would say try to find supportive people. Try to find, just like yourselves, like fucking people that have the same interests that like got your back. Like you work on their content, they work on yours. Just have as much strong support as you can, because like I ain't made it, man. Like I'm still struggling to get everything I do made. Like I have to convince like people like that bonus features are like, a sellable commodity still. Like it's an uphill battle.
I do it for free. I do it. I waste my energy on it, trying to convince people to watch that shit.
It's not a waste. It's not a waste at all, man. Like it's beautiful shit. Like it really is.
It really is. Yeah, absolutely.
I just had
But
this
gotta love
huge
that.
scenario of how Kevin Smith would have said that, in the sense of like, he'd be like, I'll put whatever people tell me in my mouth as long as it's not racist or abusive. Like, if they're paying me, it's even better.
literally that. But like Cameo takes like I think 12%. We were like, fuck that, we can do this ourselves. So like we had the teleprompter up and we programmed all the information. It was a lot of work, but man, it got my feature made. So like it's an uphill battle, like, you know, fucking for everybody, man. Just you gotta be willing to just keep. I always use the analogy. I keep hitting my head against the brick wall, and either it or I will fall.
To go back to the kind of funny Kevin Smith crossover, obviously on his episode, he gave them some amazing advice, which I think applies. Remember, you asked for this. Was the line he told them, because they were going off out on their own, and I know it's advice that's mattered, you know, to them a lot as well. I think it's. But it's just amazing that he does stuff like that as well. He's, you know, you see him obviously with Mark's short as well. You know,
yeah, totally.
Him money
He's the most supportive like dude on the planet. Like I talk a lot of shit, especially to him, like in person. But honestly, like I think the world of the boy.
I mean, just look upstairs. He's given his friends, you know, his high school friends a job for 20. What was it? The anniversary, 25 years.
It was the 25th. Yeah, we did a bunch of photos for it.
Yeah, he's given his mates a jobs for 25 years. You know, he does seem like a very chosen family affair kind of thing, and
it is.
I appreciate that.
And I'm very honored to be part of it.
You know, and he's always I always love whenever he's doing like panels or interviews, he always makes a point of like trying to highlight the person asking the question, etc., or getting to tell them their name and things like. He just seems like an amazing person. I only met him the once.
Well, yeah, but I mean that turns into a pain in my dick a lot of the time, because he's the kind of guy that stops for every fucking photo and every fucking signature, and I'm the bad guy. It's like got to rush them along. I'm like, bro, like if you don't fucking get in the fucking SUV, I get an hour less sleep tonight. I'm like, let's move it along, motherfucker. So like he is that nice and giving. So like you have to let him
feel having to do that, Josh?
How does it
it's not
feel,
fun being a bad guy.
How does
like,
it feel
it
to
sucks.
be the reason a tweet went out that was like, Kevin Smith was such an asshole, he wouldn't sign something for me?
Yeah. Like I wouldn't be able to go to sleep at night.
Oh man, I sleep like a baby. Screw that kid.
I love you, Phil.
Look, there's a lot of great fans that, like, you know, take your time, have fun with them. They're all super nice people. And then there's a lot of fucking people that they come up with a box of 30 things for you to sign because they're putting them on fucking eBay. And those are the people where I'm just like, fuck you, no. Like, fuck you, no. Like, you can buy anything you want of his signed. He's got everything in the fucking world in this goddamn dungeon down.
See, screw that kid.
Yeah. That shit bums me out.
I met him after a +1 when he did a +1 at the Prince Charles Theatre in London. I did actually get to ask him a question.
Was that the one on vinyl?
What, the +1?
Yeah, I think they put that on vinyl, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh my god, I'll have to get that then if it's the one, because
I have a test
actually asked a question on it, and he thinks I said Red State's a real head fuck, and he thought I said head shotgun anyway. But then I went out the back talking of getting things signed, because obviously I got the tickets or whatever, and I was like, I better take something just in case I see him to sign. So I grabbed the clerk's 25th, because it was cardboard or whatever.
Yeah.
And obviously bumped into Jen, and she was like, well, I'm not even in this one. So I was like, I know, Silent Bob. It was like, why didn't I pick up Strikes Back? Why did I? Or any of the other films that had Jen in? I picked the one that
That's
didn't.
Great. She's a sweetheart. Yeah. She's one of my favorites.
All right, everybody. As fun as this has been, as amazing as this has been, Josh does have a life.
This has been great. This has been fucking great, guys. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to my dumb ass. Like,
oh man,
this has been a lot of fun.
We're not worthy.
Please. I'm not a Cooper.
The fact that we connected over Evil Dead to even make this happen, I knew this was going to be a great interview. I had no doubts. So just to close out the show, is there anything you want to promote? I know it's a little bit hard with secret projects and stuff like that, but I know you're doing other stuff out there. I think in the tweet I put your website up there, which for some reason
That's
it's
always
escaping me right now.
Anticurrent.com. ANTICURRENT. That's, if you want to check my shit out, like that's essentially just got everything I've ever worked on. Wrong Reasons, we have our festival premiere date, though I'm not allowed to say what the festival is nor when it is. Look for Wrong Reasons as soon as we secure the one last guy that's been dragging his heels.
No,
And
Has been a
Lonesome
cunt.
Road.
no comment.
You mean long Lonesome Road, don't you, Michael? You said wrong.
No,
Reason.
Long Lonesome Highway.
Long Lonesome Highway, yeah.
Yeah,
You
that
said
was
Wrong
the
Reasons,
title of the
yeah.
track. Sorry,
Sorry.
sir?
You said Wrong Reasons, but you were talking about that. Sorry, so that's why I just...
Oh, my bad. Sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't get much sleep last night. Wrong Reasons, Long Lonesome Highway, anticurrent.com. That's pretty much it. I mean, as soon as I got any information, good luck shutting me up on Twitter.
And hopefully the Clerks 3 doc, if...
And that's true, yeah. And we got that coming out as well, which has like so much beautiful Super 8 footage in it. I hope that people get to see it.
Also, you can't say Super 8.
What?
Phil, no.
Oh.
Phil sent me an interview with Raimi back from like 1982.
Okay.
And he mentioned that Evil Dead was made on 16 millimeter, and then you can hear Rob Tappert in the background saying, "Don't mention
you
that
can't
it's
say that.
16 millimeter.
Don't say that.
Can't say that."
And then Sam is
That's
just like,
amazing.
wait, why?
Oh yeah. Oh Phil, please send it to Josh, please.
I'll DM it to you. It's so raw,
And then
dude.
Sam gets like fucking like stone faced and is like, "Why can't I mention that?"
Yeah.
And it's just like, "Oh, it's the most beautiful thing."
All on camera. That's
So-
fucking genius.
Oh yeah,
So
it's all there.
For those that don't know, The Evil Dead was shot on 16 millimeter and then blown up to 32.
35.
Or 35.
35.
Thank you. I was just thinking of the double factor because that's how my brain usually works. But yeah, 35 millimeter, which is apparently a really difficult process to make A, look good, but B, at the time when they were shooting it with the budget that they had. So they didn't want to like belittle the value of the film by having him talk about the fact that it was shot on 16 and not 35.
That makes sense.
So yeah, it's such a raw, crazy interview, and it's literally like right after the movie kind of debuted, because they talk about the festival viewing from Stephen King and his review on the film and how he liked it and stuff. So it was like right in that era of the film coming out and kind of becoming a success and stuff.
Go watch it before it gets taken down.
I'll DM you the link
I have
for sure.
I have ticket stubs from the Book of the Dead premiere screening from when they first premiered it. I forget his name. Scott. It wasn't Tappert. One of them is selling them on eBay for like $12 a ticket. I bought like 5. Scott Spiegel.
Yeah.
Awesome. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Guys, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I would love to have you again in an anniversary episode.
I'm down.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
This was so great. I had so much fun. It was so much learning a little bit more about you, the process of things that you've done and gotten to where you are today. And I can't wait to see what you keep doing, man. You're doing incredible things out there, and I think it's only up from here. So I can't wait to see what you do next.
You guys are all incredibly sweet people. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Absolutely.
My pleasure.
Anytime. Anytime.
A pleasure and
Anytime.
an honor, sir.
Yeah.
All right. That is this episode of Out of Our League, and I just want to say you're all pretty good.
That was great.